ladies and gentlemen. This is Tim Spencer from the Rural Survival Show. Today, in our deep dive interview, we're going to be interviewing Mr. Kirk Phinney, who produces all kinds of wonderful products for purifying water. I use several of his products myself: the whole house filter, the countertop filter, and the under sink model. And we're going to talk about each one of those, and we're going to talk about how they can be used in a survival situation. And if Kirk is amenable, I'd like to talk about the hand pump for deep wells first, where you can pump up your own pressure tank. So, Kirk, first, can you give our listeners a little bit of background about yourself?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'll give you the elevator presentation. So I got started working with water for the first time, and I have a pretty extensive industrial and mechanical background, but it was 1999 when I moved to my rural property, anticipating the possible effects of Y2K. Does anybody remember that?
Yes.
Anyway, I moved away from Greensboro to a very rural farm that an Amish fellow was selling that was about an hour north, and really wanted to be out in the country. He had a foundation already in the ground and had a pretty nice mobile home already set up on the site. So I figured, that we could live in the mobile home while I build the house, which was the intention. So
that's what Rory and I did.
Yep, worked out really well. The problem was the well water on this property was some of the worst I had ever seen in my life. I mean, it had the sulfur in it. It smelled like rotten eggs.
Hey, I grew up with that water. We had an artesian well that was 1,500 feet deep. We called it sweet water. That's just what we had. And when you start out as a young child drinking that,
sweet water.
Yeah. Well, this was the sulfur water.
Sweet. But this was foul water, and it had all kinds of additional iron, and it was turning the fixtures in the mobile home, like dark brown / orange. It was bad. So I knew right away that we were going to have to do something. I really had no experience working with any kind of water filtration. My background was carpentry, contracting, and general contracting. And so anyway, I found a company that was selling equipment. I had a consult on the phone with the fellow and wound up buying a water conditioner, and a regular reverse osmosis filter. And I had to build a little water closet, but not the kind of water closet you're thinking of. But I had to build a little closet extension on the back of the mobile home in order to have the space to put the conditioning system in, with the filtration. And I did all of that, and it made the problem go away. So I became a big fan, of conditioned water. And then, I was very heavy into marketing at that point, working mostly with nutritional products. So I'm well familiar with wellness and holistic health, and had a lot of contacts in that industry. And somebody had contacted me from Utah, a friend that I have known for a long time. And she was telling me about this electronic water ionizer that sat on the kitchen counter that used an electrolysis chamber to create this energized alkaline antioxidant water. And this was back in 2007. And I became interested because she had sent me a phone book size of testimonials that people were having, with this water. And after reading about 30 of them, I thought to myself, well, if 1/10 of this is true, this is an incredible thing. The problem was the machine was about $4,000.
Right.
And I thought to myself, looking at it, it just seems awfully expensive, for what this is. And so I started looking on the internet, and I found an equipment manufacturer over in Korea that made a similar device, which I thought had some features in it that were way above what this other technology had. And so I went fishing, and I found a fellow and his partner that were representing this manufacturer in the US. Kathy and I wound up making a partnership with him, and we started a brand new company with a piece of equipment that I selected from the manufacturer's menu of other products that they had done that was different from the one that was being carried presently in the US. And so we started this company. We did tens of millions of dollars in sales in the first couple of years.
Wow.
Very, very successful. But still fairly pricey. I mean, it was less money than the other equipment, but it was still expensive. And so, my mind is always open. They say that a mind and a parachute are the same in that they only work when they're open.
Right.
You know, my mind is very open, and I looked at different things. I heard about a technology for using a proprietary mineral blend to create the same type of energy in the water without electricity. So it was kind of like a non-electric solution. Wound up separating from my partners, formed a new company called Water Revolution in 2010. And we've been marketing these products now, you know, through 12 years. But I have about 15 years experience, you know, in the energized water industry, counting this other thing. So when people hear about alkaline antioxidant water, 9 times out of 10, they're thinking about these electronic appliances that sit on the counter that are made by a variety of different companies, but they all have one thing in common, and that's that they have about 100 different parts, all made by the lowest Asian bidder.
Right.
And so there's a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong with those systems, not to mention the fact that electricity and water don't combine well together. That's number one. Number two, you don't find examples in nature where electricity is used to create energized water.
No, you do not.
Created the planet. So the technology that we developed, this non-electric solution is what we call it.
Right.
That technology energizes the water the same way the earth does.
All right. Are you talking about your Helix? Are you talking about your Helix Energizer?
Well, that's one type of it. We have 3 or 4 different technologies that are woven into one. So we've got Water Revolution, which is our main water company. Helix Life International is our nutrition company. We carry certain products there that we did not carry at Water Revolution, but now we're kind of combining the water offer to make it easier for people to understand. So the Helix Energizer technology is also now available through Water Revolution. So it's an interesting thing. And what it does is it steps up the alkaline antioxidant water and moves it now into the category of structured water. So now we have non-electric devices that create alkaline antioxidant, you know, first purified water using our Alka Purity technology that now becomes structured through this double helical vortex system that we call the Helix Energizer. And it's available in a number of different forms. In fact, if you look behind me, you'll see a stainless steel. Right. Get used to the camera. Okay. You see a stainless steel cylinder here, which is a whole home, or what we call point of entry system, called the Helix Home, HOME. And that device is a backwashing filter that doesn't use any consumables that a typical conditioner would, but it does a phenomenal job of filtering out many of the toxins, reducing a lot of the contaminants in the whole house water. And on top of that, it has the Helix Energizer technology built into its structure. So that unit 2 creates structured water. There we go, in the whole home.
Right. That's cool.
Sell for about $1,800, which is an incredible value.
Oh, and, yeah, it is a value, but for somebody like me, it's ouch.
Yeah, I think that what happens is there's a lot of different markets out there. You know, my experience is this: people always find a way to buy what it is that they want.
Yes.
And it becomes now a matter of priorities, you know, and there's financing options and other things that people can choose. But anyway, you know, you mentioned the pump system for the well, which is called the simple pump.
Right.
The problem with having a well, you know, we've got 3 of them on our property. The problem is if the electricity goes out, you're not able to get well water unless you live on an Amish farm in Pennsylvania and you happen to maybe have a hand pump. And even if you did, those aren't the best solutions, because who wants to carry, you know, buckets of water into the house? I know I don't.
No, you don't want to do it, but you will if you have to.
That's right. That's right. I don't want to have to. So anyway, there's a company out west called Simple Pump that, after our research, I think makes the best product for an emergency well water pump.
Right.
And it's phenomenally constructed. It'll pump water into pressure, and I'll explain that in a second. It'll pump water from your aquifer into pressure without electricity to depths of up to about 320 feet.
And that is amazing.
Incredible product. Now, Tim, I got to tell you, if you've got a relatively shallow well, it's still going to cost you a couple of $1,000s to buy this simple. And they go all the way up to about 36 or 3,700 on the severe depths.
Right.
But there's not another product like it that I've ever seen in the market.
Well,
and what happens is you're able then, once this is installed, and it's a fairly easy installation.
Right.
Kathy and I do ours ourselves. What happens is it rides alongside of the submersible that's also in, your well casing, what they call the well case. And I think you have to have at least a 4-inch casing for the submersible to marry along with this. But most people have got a 6, some people have an 8. So it works no problem. And it doesn't need to go down typically as deep as your submersible. So I'll give you an example. My submersible is set at about 175 feet, but my simple pump only goes down to about 90 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm out there pumping water for survival, because I have to, whether or not the water is the highest quality doesn't matter, because I'm pumping it into the pressure tank that's located with my pump. And then without electricity, it gets delivered to the home, the whole home, just like it normally does. Except when I fill my bathtub up, my master bath, I'm going to have to run out again and pump some more, to get it to go. So I have an 85-gallon pressure vessel that I installed when I installed my simple pump, which keeps about 50 gallons on hand.
Right.
Now, obviously, throughout normal operating, electric's up, no problem. As long as your well feed line doesn't get severed by a tree root. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
I have an interesting story.
Been there.
So anyway, electricity works, most of the time, no problem. And we don't have to even think about it. But, I had an incident 2 weeks ago where my well stopped working. I couldn't figure out why. It turned out it was the 130-foot, underground feeder cable that went from the meter to the thing. I never thought those things could go bad. This thing was thrown in by the previous owner. It was not in a conduit. It is the underground feeder. But
here we've got so many rocks, Kirk, that we have to put them in conduit.
Yep.
I mean, even the service
$14 for a 10-foot, 1.5-inch piece. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, isn't that ridiculous?
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, I redid it myself. But for those 2 or 3 days that I didn't have water, and this was mostly because I was still trying to diagnose the problem.
Yeah.
The circuit breaker kept tripping. I thought maybe it was the pump or, one of the pressure switches in the well house. And I did all this stuff. Anyway, turned out it wound up being the feeder. I found that out because I turned everything off and disconnected everything in the well pump house. And the breaker at the meter still kept tripping. So I knew.
Well, that tells you your problem.
Anyway, but I had the simple pump to ease me through those 3 days, without having the normal water in the house. It was wonderful.
I bet
we would have had to gone to another place to, to shower and whatnot. So I'm telling you, this is a great thing. Now, it is a couple of $1,000s and up. It's certainly not for everybody, but if you're serious about, being prepped in a down electric period, and I would be shocked. I just got to tell you, okay, looking at everything else that's going on right now in the country, you got the medical, the food shortage, the food processing plants. It seems like every week there's another one catching on fire.
The last I saw,
all this stuff is not an accident. Yeah, I mean,
last I saw was 91 food processing plants. The last I saw.
It's bizarre. So it looks like to me, and I'm not a negative guy, but it looks like to me that something is happening.
It is.
And that something is, a complete takedown of everything that we consider normal, here in this country. And I can just tell you from my experience in the service, this is not a new concept. I mean, every country that's ever been taken over has been run through this same program. It's a practice program. So if the electric does not go down for a lot of people, I would be, no pun intended, shocked.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
And water is something that you don't want to be without, because if you don't have water, you've got to schlep out somewhere to get it. And if that somewhere is a place downtown where the GOV is handing out, water, you want to do your best to not be involved in that scenario.
I'll tell you, anything I got from
previous disasters and, and whatnot. So I just think it makes a lot of sense. If you've got extra money and you don't want to be without water, you can never go wrong with a simple pump. And I've got to believe in my heart of hearts that it will raise the value of the property should you just have to sell it, that much more.
Oh, I agree.
I believe it would.
I absolutely agree. I'd love to have a well, but
Right.
if I ever have one, if I ever got the money to drill one, I'm definitely going to get one of those simple pumps. I've watched installation
a lot of places in
videos.
the country can actually hand dig a well, which is what they did, 50, 60, 80 years ago.
Right.
And you could maybe make that happen, in which case then you may find that, water is accessible at 50 feet or 40 feet. And if it is, then there's a variety of other pumps that are a lot less expensive that you can use also.
Right.
So, the heavy duty professional level simple pump is not the only way to go. I mean, there's plastic pumps that they sell in Lowe's and Home Depot. I wouldn't want to depend my life on them, but
No.
they're available, flow jacks and things like that you can use, but they won't pump into pressure. So you're
Right.
back with the 5-gallon bucket, schlepping water. And maybe that works for you. I don't want to go back to that state if I don't have to.
Well, I agree with you. Never do it if you don't have to.
Right.
My problem, Kirk, and I don't know if you know this or not, most of my listeners do. I have to depend on everybody else to do everything. I've got one leg and I've had a stroke. These hands, I can move them, but I can't feel anything. Typing is now one finger. Therefore, I have to depend on my grandson, my daughter, her husband. I've got to depend on other people to do everything.
Well, a lot of people are in that same boat. I mean, I'm getting older. Joints and bones are not what they were.
No.
And, this is something that everybody is going to eventually find themselves going through unless, it comes earlier, unless the lights out come earlier. And I think that another reason why people need to band together. I mean, you can't,
Yes.
It's great to have things and to have, options, but you also have to be thinking ahead, hey, I may have to defend this at some point.
Right.
And if that happens, you're going to need some extra folks.
Oh, I agree.
No, we all do. I mean, that's just, Confucius said there's safety in numbers, and I believe there is. So I
Yes.
just think that, we need to keep that into account for sure.
Well, Kirk, I've been watching, my whole job is keeping John Moore supported with news, what's going on in the world.
Sure.
I actually spend about 16 hours a day doing nothing but watching news videos and reading the news, mainly because there's nothing else for me to do. I have noticed that out west, the water situation's getting real bad. They say that
It is.
Las Vegas is going to be out of water in early 2023. There just
That's
isn't going to be any.
That's right.
Even if it rained a lot, they're still not going to have any.
Well, here's the thing, and that's really, for me, the cheaper solution for most people is already pure emergency filter.
Right.
And that you can get that with the discount, with the more listener discount. It's like $3.95. It's the finest gravity fed ceramic cartridges that you're ever going to find anywhere. That's number one. Number two, the unit is very, very solid. Number three, it comes with a solid billet stainless steel spout, which is the type of fixture that you would find on a $1 million yacht.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the one I got from you. Yeah, I have one of those. I need a second one because there's 6 people in my family.
Tim, what's nice about that unit is you can put any groundwater through it.
Right.
From a swimming pool, a puddle, a pond, a swim hole, whatever you've got, the street if you have to.
Yeah, but pre-filter first, right?
Yeah, it's going to filter out all the biologics and the great vast majority of any other toxins that are in there. It really is almost akin to the filtration quotient that you get with reverse osmosis.
Right.
But the disadvantage is it takes an hour, maybe for it to make 2 gallons of water.
Right. An hour is not bad.
Listen, there's other products and other cartridges out there that move water faster that you can get, but they're not going to have the purification quotient that this unit does. And I got to tell you, anyone that believes at this point, with all the evidence that's out there, that we don't have people against us that are monkeying with the atmosphere and,
They are.
monkeying with the weather and injecting materials, into the atmosphere. If anybody believes that's not going on, you need to do some more serious research.
Well, the thing is, Kirk, the weather modification has been public knowledge since the Vietnam War.
That's right.
It had. I mean, it's no secret.
Talked about it.
They don't hide it. They'll even tell you what they're spraying. Barium, aluminum. They'll tell you right up front what they're spraying. It's no secret, but they just don't publish it unless you ask for it.
But see, Tim, here's the problem. Here's the issue.
Yeah.
Let's just use some brevity and break this all down. Okay. If somebody believes that man and our environment is a cosmic accident and they don't understand the underpinnings of the Bible and they don't believe in God, and I'll take it from my family and say, if they don't believe in Jesus and they don't see how all of that plays into it, then really none of this makes sense. Because if you don't understand the battle of good versus evil and all of these things from a Christian perspective, and there's other religions out there, man. I'm not against other religions. I just don't believe in them. I believe in mine.
I'm against one of them.
There's a lot of reasons for that, but I don't want to make anybody wrong. I mean, it's up to you what you believe, but I can tell you that as a Christian, here in America, with the background that I have, which has been good and bad. I mean, I'm not a goody two shoes by any means, but everything that I've seen in my 62 years tells me that there is a God, there is a Christ.
Yes.
And the Bible is 100% true.
Yes.
And this is a spiritual battle.
It is.
As Christians, as Americans, as patriots, we have to, at this point, get ready for what's coming because the evidence is there.
It is.
And everything you can do, extra food, water source on hand, all the basic necessities, medicines, health modalities that are natural, because it's not going to be easy, or I should say, you're not going to want to go to the hospital.
No.
I don't want to go to the
even
hospital
there.
now.
Me neither.
How about you? So, I mean, it goes downhill from here.
Yeah.
So I think, getting prepared in whatever way you choose to prioritize that should be at this point your main mission, because if not, it's all just talk.
Right.
But trying to convince somebody that doesn't understand the truth to begin with, right? And the Bible says the first truth is the fear of the Lord. People that don't understand that probably aren't going to get the rest of the story.
Right.
Because, the Bible says people are enslaved for lack of knowledge or lack of wisdom, I guess. There's a lot of knowledge out there. There's very little wisdom. The tools online that we think are great, for putting stuff together. Well, it turns out what they're really great at doing is hiding the facts from us.
Right.
And teaching a whole new group of people that the facts aren't what they think it is.
Oh, I agree.
Because this search engine says different. And these are things that we have to watch out for, along with many other things. But food and water, I would say, should be the highest priority.
What's funny to me, and we're getting off the subject of water a little bit. I want to get back to that. But something I learned the other day is how few people understand that they cannot live without salt.
Right. That's right.
They don't know
exactly
this.
Right. Another great source of energy, really, it's what allows the body to operate electrically the way that it does.
And without it, you die.
That's right.
So
that's right.
That's why we got 150 pounds of it sitting here.
Another really important thing to stock up on, no question. And sugar and others, a lot of foods that we would consider unhealthy at this point, you're going to wish you had it in a shutdown scenario, because it becomes then staying hydrated and getting a lot of calories.
Right.
And sure, there's calories that are healthier than others, but if we need 2,500 calories now, to live a normal life, and we're sedentary, most of us, well, if we're outside doing physical activity in the cold weather, we're going to need a whole lot more calories.
Yeah, you're looking at 4,000 for an average adult male.
So if you can't afford the expensive organic prep food, no problem. Stock up on whatever you can, at the grocery store.
I'll tell you
Because you're
something.
going to need those calories.
Something my grandson and I have been doing. In fact, we just completed a group of cans yesterday. But we go to the farmer's market on Saturday morning, buy vegetables, and come home and start canning. It's fairly cheap. The jars I've already got.
Yep.
And, we're really canning the hell out of stuff.
Yep.
And this last week, all we did was can tomatoes and yellow squash and zucchini. None of it am I too fond of, but I bet if I'm hungry, I'll eat it.
Oh, sure. And it's a great source of minerals and vitamins and everything else that you need. So
Right.
it's the vegetables are really important. You mentioned the salt. You need to have a good source of fat. So you need to have some healthy oil stored. Also very important. But I think so. The thing that I want to leave everybody with is that if you have water issues, if you have concerns, if you're worried about it, give us a shout. Here at Water Revolution, we're happy to help you. The same John Moore discount is open.
How about my discount? Does it still apply?
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody, all the radio listeners and the podcast listeners that we're affiliated with get that same discount. So for most of our equipment, it's a straight $100 off, which is a great deal.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, there's payment options, there's other things going on, but give us a shout. We're here to help. Is it okay if I put my phone number out?
Oh, absolutely. I was going to list it on the video comments.
Okay. Yeah. It's area code 336-525-1015.
And your
That's my
website?
wife, Kathy, and I, and our company. Again, 336-525-1015.
Okay. And your website is waterrevolution.com, correct?
There's a hyphen or a dash between water and revolution.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. I was thinking there was.
Yeah. So it's water hyphen or water dash revolution.com.
Right. Now, folks, I'm here to tell you that Kirk's stuff works. And Kirk and Kathy will take care of you. And, I don't know what to say. I can feel a difference in the showers with my whole house filter and the Helix Energizer.
Absolutely.
I can literally feel a difference.
I think everybody will.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have, like I mentioned, we've got the real hard water, with the salt.
We do too.
Where we are in rural North Carolina. And, what happened to me, up until the Helix Energy, and I have a conditioner and everything, but the problem is if it runs out of salt, which it would do from time to time,
right? Because
I would forget to service it. It would take 2 or 3 days, and then the water would start to turn first green, and then you get the orange, and it starts to smell. You can really tell when the salt is not working, or it's out. And ever since I put this Helix Energizer system in, which is very inexpensive, and very easy to install,
super easy.
Ever since I put that unit into the plumbing, I could be 4 months without salt, and the water still will not turn.
Right.
Now, it doesn't have the same pristine quality that it does when the conditioner is working.
Right.
But it's not doing the ugly, and this is because the energized vortexing action, along with the magnets inside of this unit, does a great job of busting up and breaking up a lot of contaminants. And I'm not making this claim because I'm not a chemist, but I think it's rendering a lot of these toxins and other material that's in the water inert in the body. I think that, and this is the same way that the streams and the solid, fresh springs, the same way that the earth energizes and purifies water, is with this same type of vortexing action. And on top of that, this Helix Energizer creates then a micro clustered water that's a lot more absorbable in the body, works a lot
Right.
better for showering and cleaning, and probably does an excellent job at certainly reducing a lot of the contaminant load that people are experiencing. And, you know, and you don't have to service it. It lasts
Right.
forever because it's built on a form factor, and the energized material that's used in its construction never makes contact with the water. So it's much different than a filter,
Right.
or for that matter, than our antioxidant water,
All right.
you know, technology.
Question.
So it's a great thing. But I got to tell you, look, for a lot of people, as you age, as you get older, dehydration becomes a big issue.
Yes.
We've all seen people that as they get older, their skin shrivels and they shrink and they have extra pain and other issues with their joints. And I'm not suggesting that our product is a cure, because it certainly is not.
Right.
But I can tell you, our family has been using our energized water, you know, through our equipment technology for going on 15 years now. And I can count the times on one hand or less than a hand that any of us have ever been sick.
Right.
Think of this. None of us are on prescription medications. We never have been. And I can count the times on one hand where any of us have been sick. And the first thing I noticed was it, you know, when I got on a long time ago, was that it took away all my allergies that I had. And I
Cool.
still have them now, you know, sinus issues, depending on the
Right.
load, you know, but I'm getting older, right? Body's
Right.
not working the same way it did, you know, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Most of the health professionals, and we've got many hundreds of them in our Water Revolution family, most of them use and prescribe this water because of its effect on weight loss, which is
Yeah.
another thing to think about. You know, most people are suffering health-wise and weight-wise because their body simply is not getting rid of the toxins, number one, or
Right.
their digestion system is not working the way that it could. And I love the Water Revolution water because it's so convenient.
Right.
You know, once you have one of these systems installed, every glass of water that you drink is going to run through that system. So you don't have to
Yep.
think about taking extra supplements, and I'm not putting that down. I mean, we take a whole host of supplements. In fact, we own a supplement company as well. But I'll tell you that what happens is you feel better, you have more energy. Many people find weight control that they didn't have before. Not to make a claim, I'm just telling you what many people experience. My guess is if you try our water technology, you'll experience the same thing.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely agree, Kirk. I'm so happy I was able to get with you and get the products that I got. And, you know, even my wife, who poo-poos everything, is thoroughly impressed with this. She
Good.
really is.
That's good, because in most families, the wife controls the home.
Right.
I know it's
Well,
that way in my house.
Well, it is
Unless
in
it comes to
mine.
fixing something, and then, you know,
Yeah, then it's your problem. I know the feeling. I truly do.
Amen.
In fact, I've
And
got a
thank God I know
laundry
how to do
room.
most of it, because I would be cold stone broke at this point if I didn't. I mean, you know, we've
Yeah.
got buildings, industrial manufacturing buildings, a shipping. If I didn't know how to do basic repairs, I'd be in big trouble.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, I love you, Tim, and I appreciate the time. You know, happy to come back anytime.
Sounds like a
we should do
plan.
Another one too, where we're just talking about, you know, like you say, the news, because there's so much happening.
Anytime you want, Kirk.
That'd
Anytime
be
you
great.
want,
Well,
buddy.
let's set it up for next week.
Got it. Sounds like a plan.
Next week.
Yeah, there's
Okay,
no
brother.
limit to how many videos I can post.
That's right.
And people will
The
love it.
more the merrier. That's for sure.
All right, Kirk, what
Well,
I'm going to
sounds good.
do.
Good to see you, Tim.
All right, what
Okay,
I'm going to
brother.
do is
Take
put
care.
all your contact information in the description,
Thank
along
you.
with the discount code, if I can remember what it is.
Well, just email Kathy and she'll tell you.
All right. And I'll
Okay,
get all
brother.
that in there. This will
Appreciate
go
you.
up. Appreciate
All right,
you
man.
too, Kirk. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
you too.
Bye-bye.